ever get to see firsthand how things really work inside California's state capitol, where a one-party Democratic supermajority has a lot of power and makes a lot of decisions behind closed doors. I'm CBS News California investigative correspondent Julie Watts, and you're watching California's fentanyl fight. One of the hardest fought political battles in 2024 happened inside these walls, between a group of grieving parents who lost their kids to fentanyl and a handful of powerful politicians who were opposed to increasing criminal penalties. With the help of new artificial intelligence from our partners at Cal Matters, this year-long investigation provides an unprecedented look at how your state government really works when you're not paying attention.
You ready? Me too.
Taught himself how to play piano. He played violin in the orchestra. He was a straight-A student. He starred in the school musical. He was on the track team, on the soccer team. He got a nearly perfect score on the SATs. I mean, and he loved sports. He was really athletic. That was another reason I really thought that he wouldn't be interested in trying any kinds of substances. He and his buddy decided to try what they thought was Percocet, and that's when Chris found him at his desk. 3 weeks before he died at that desk, I was with him at that desk finalizing his applications for the UCs.
Laura Didier now treasures her son's college acceptance letters Zach never got to see.
Zach deserves to know where he would have gotten in.
Zach died 2 days after Christmas 2020, before many people had even heard of counterfeit pills or fentanyl. Within a year, fentanyl would be blamed for 1 in 5 deaths of young people in California.
She died from an apparent fentanyl overdose in the bathroom at a Hollywood high school.
He died after someone sold him a fake prescription drug pill on Snapchat.
Today, the DEA reports 7 out of every 10 pills seized are laced with a cheap, powerful synthetic opioid, hidden in recreational drugs and counterfeit prescriptions ranging from cocaine to painkillers to ADHD medication.
I cried all 3 times I told that story yesterday.
Laura Newsom's son Spencer also died in 2020.
He was set to go to the fire academy.
Spencer's death is now a cold case fentanyl murder investigation.
This isn't the end of her story.
15-year-old Jules' death led to California's first fentanyl-related murder conviction.
She has the kind of heart that would want to help others, and so as her mom, that's what I need to do now.
These unintentional activists now find purpose in working to save other parents from the same fate.
This is what happened to Zach.
Speaking to students at schools and lawmakers at the state capitol. But the more they learn about state government,
this legislative process can be kind of overwhelming to navigate and mystifying.
The more secretive it seems.
But this really gives you this roadmap.
Enter Digital Democracy, a new website and AI search tool from the nonpartisan nonprofit newsroom Cal Matters. The website is connected to a database run by Cal Poly that includes every bill introduced, every vote cast, every word spoken by every lawmaker, lobbyist, and advocate, created to help everyday people like you and these moms find out what's really happening inside these walls.
I'm intrigued and I'm also appalled by what I've learned.
For instance, a simple search for Laura Didier's name reveals every hearing she's ever been to.
There are no words.
Including this one.
I was shocked.
Look closely, here in white is the powerful Senate Public Safety Chair, Bay Area Senator Aisha Wahab.
Madam Chair, thank you for your time. My name is Laura Didier.
You can see her reflection here as Laura chokes back tears.
Killed him in his bedroom.
And here, moments later, Senator Wahab gets up and walks out while Laura describes the most painful moment of her life. The expressions behind her speak volumes.
I just thought, if my son doesn't deserve 2 minutes of your time when you were elected to be here.
Speakers are only allowed 2 minutes.
Certainly when a grieving mother has 40 seconds left to speak, that's not the best time to make your exit.
I mean, how callous.
Senator Wahab's staff wouldn't tell us why she walked out and declined our multiple interview requests. But that's the day Laura says she learned how California's Capitol really works.
Wahab.
None of the 3 Bay Area Democrats on the committee
Skinner.
were even in the room for the vote on that fentanyl-related bill,
Wiener.
which would have increased penalties for dealers.
That is not what we're expecting or what we want from our lawmakers.
All 3 later voted against the bill in private. something Digital Democracy also revealed.
A democracy is about this happening in public.
Cal Matters' Dave Lesher explains, especially in California's supermajority, where Democrats control the Assembly, Senate, and the governor's office.
Not everybody likes transparency.
Lawmakers make many policy decisions behind closed doors.
Transparency means accountability.
These public hearings, no matter how passionate the testimony, are often more of a technicality than an opportunity for the public to actually influence policy. But by making it easier for the public to see things like this with a simple search,
I'm hoping they start showing up to do their jobs.
Lesher believes Digital Democracy could change the decision-making process.
This is about transparency that really doesn't exist right now.
And what Digital Democracy revealed about Alexandra's law,
A lot of supporters.
had a ripple effect all the way to the ballot box.
Over the past year, Cal Matters' new Digital Democracy database gave us the tools to analyze thousands of votes and dozens of hours of political hearings in ways that simply weren't possible before. But it was Alexandra's law that gave us a case study of California's supermajority politics at its best or worst, depending on who you ask. And if you ask Alexandra's parents, they'll tell you powerful California lawmakers use their daughter as a political pawn.
I miss those days. Just the girls always being here and laughing and just having fun. And
It's been 5 years since Christine Capilouto found her 20-year-old daughter slumped over sideways, still sitting on the floor in front of her mirror where she'd been taking off her makeup the night before.
this friend just got married.
Alexandra was home from college for a visit.
They're all growing up without her.
She was having trouble sleeping and made the fatal decision to buy a prescription pain pill on Snapchat. These home surveillance videos are the last images of Alexandra alive, holding what she thought was Percocet. The dealer later admitted he knew it was laced with fentanyl.
Soon after Alex died, we came up with this idea of an admonishment.
A documented warning for people convicted of fentanyl crimes that if they deal fentanyl again and if someone dies, they could be charged with murder. It was intended to mirror the warning drunk drivers get when they're convicted of a DUI, credited with dramatically decreasing drunk driving deaths.
In order to hold a drug dealer accountable for a death, you have to prove that they were aware of those dangers.
They named their warning Alexandra's Law.
Good morning.
Matt and Christine Capilouto wanted to save other parents from the same fate. Instead, they got a masterclass in California's supermajority politics.
As you can imagine, I'm frustrated to be here again.
Alexandra's Law was introduced 5 times in 4 years and faced 7 different hearings, but never got past the public safety committees.
I think people don't understand how this process works, and it first has to get out of committee, which just consists of a handful of people who, in my opinion, ultimately abuse their power.
I will continue to not be supporting this bill today.
Opponents like Bay Area Senators Scott Wiener and Nancy Skinner worry that people who don't realize they're selling fentanyl could also get the admonishment, like young people at parties with friends.
As parents, I would welcome that warning.
But after that warning, if those kids were to sell or even distribute fentanyl again as an adult and someone died, they could face murder charges.
Makes sense to me. They were clearly aware of the dangers.
What do you say to those folks who say, well, Alexandra did something illegal too?
They're right, and she paid a price. And you have to put this into context, though. She took half of this pill before going to bed, and it killed her within minutes. A poor choice, the evil choice, was by that man who chose to risk her life to make a few dollars. And that person bears accountability.
Thank you.
More than 100 people testified at this final Senate public safety hearing, most in support of Alexandra's Law.
I'm standing here on behalf of all the brown and black moms, Jeff.
And Zach.
And Cameron.
Merrick.
My heart breaks knowing that had this passed 4 years ago when we were presenting it, their kids might be alive today.
In a show of bipartisan support, 22 senators, both Republican and Democrat, signed on as co-authors, along with dozens more from the Assembly.
If we could have got it to the floor for a vote, it would have passed.
But first, it had to get through these 4 senators on a committee that killed Alexandra's Law before.
You may disagree with this, but at least let your peers, and in this case, the majority of them, let them weigh in on it.
Instead, this time,
Senator Wahab,
the Democrats on the committee,
Bradford,
simply didn't vote.
Skinner,
they sat silent,
Weiner,
killing Alexandra's law a final time without a single vote against the bill on the record. Senator Aisha Wahab, the committee chair, wasn't even there.
We don't elect these people to go to Sacramento to not vote.
For many of the grieving parents, that hearing was eye-opening.
Beyond frustrating.
I'm insulted. No one should have that kind of power.
Cal Matters digital democracy database reveals Alexandra's law was one of at least 3 fentanyl-related bills that died in 2023 because Democrats simply refused to vote. It's known as an NVR, or no vote recorded, and has the same effect as voting against a bill, but without taking a recorded stance.
It's not appropriate to not go on record.
Before Digital Democracy's new video search tool, it was nearly impossible to know if someone was absent or simply chose not to vote on the record.
We're doing our job by voting. That is what they signed up for, to represent us.
All those vote who desire to vote.
Our analysis of 1 million votes cast reveals Democrats in the supermajority voted no on the record less than 1% of the time. In last session alone, lawmakers killed at least 40 bills by not voting on the record.
Is that the way that government's supposed to work?
Do I think that's the way? No, of course not.
Southern California Senator Tom Umberg was the primary author of Alexandra's law.
So I can understand why the parents felt so aggrieved and some so angry.
He explains there are many reasons lawmakers may decline to vote. Sometimes it's a polite way to vote no, but in other cases, it's a way to kill a bill without taking a recorded stance.
That is the system that we have. Should we change it? Probably so.
Both Assembly and Senate leadership declined to comment for this story.
All right, brother, let's do it.
Tired of fighting a losing battle with lawmakers, Matt decided to bring Alexandra's law directly to the voters.
We'd like to file this ballot initiative.
Okay.
Zach Didier's dad, Chris, was among the many bereaved parents by Matt's side when he filed the paperwork to officially put Alexandra's law on the ballot. But unlike lawmakers who can vote to put something on the ballot, members of the public have to gather more than 500,000 signatures to qualify.
It's expensive.
The parents quickly realized they couldn't do it alone.
So that didn't work out, but we were fortunate.
A coalition of district attorneys, retailers, and crime victims also offered to add Alexandra's law to their ballot measure. What is now Prop 36 was intended to increase penalties for retail theft and hard drug offenses.
Yeah, that was...
like victory.
Yeah, finally something going our way.
Finally.
But the victory was short-lived.
I don't think there's a need to have it on the ballot.
California Governor Gavin Newsom fought hard to keep Prop 36 off the ballot, arguing lawmakers should decide these policies, not voters.
I think it's a better approach to governing.
In a testy email exchange first obtained by CBS News California, the governor's chief of staff, Dana Williamson, tried to convince a Prop 36 co-chair to postpone the ballot measure until 2026. That's when Newsom terms out of office. Dana Williamson, named Capital Weekly's #1 most powerful person in Sacramento, criticized the coalition for not taking a win, adding their consultants hadn't won anything in a decade. Good luck.
It's disgusting.
But to the bereaved parents, it wasn't a game.
They defiled my daughter.
Then Alexandra's parents watched.
I was so angry I cried.
As the governor and Democratic leaders used their daughter as a political pawn.
There's a fake Alexandra's law.
When the coalition refused to postpone Prop 36, Newsom and Democratic leaders introduced a competing ballot measure with their own version of Alexandra's law. According to critics, it was intended to confuse voters and kill the real Alexandra's law, along with the rest of Prop 36.
No one here, not the governor, not the author, no one from the majority party had the courage to call Matt and ask him if you could use her name in this language.
There were audible gasps among lawmakers on the assembly floor when Placer County Assemblyman Joe Patterson revealed leadership had never asked permission to use Alexandra's name.
We've been trying to get an interview with you.
This is Senator Wahab, the chair of the Public Safety Committee that killed the real Alexandra's law without a vote. Then she included Alexandra's name without permission in the bill she authored for the governor's ballot measure.
I know. So just quick question. Did you know that the governor added Alexandra's law to your bill, Senator, without asking her parents' permission?
She declined multiple interview requests and refused to speak with us at the Capitol. And when the sergeant passed her our note on the Senate floor, which is how reporters can request interviews during floor session, she handed it back and then added her name to a short list of senators who refused to take cards on the floor.
You know, what I've been able to see firsthand is just how there's an abuse of power.
Alexandra's parents believe the decision to play politics with their daughter's memory.
My name is Dana Williamson. I'm Governor Newsom's chief of staff.
Came from the very top.
I just called to apologize that we didn't reach out to you about the Alexandria's Law.
She mispronounced Alexandra's name. But shortly after Newsom's chief of staff left that voicemail, the governor pulled his competing ballot measure.
Finally, we won a battle.
The governor's office again declined interview requests, but in a statement said Mr. Capilouto's advocacy in memory of his daughter is both admirable and deeply courageous, noting that their office did apologize to him.
Come to order. Court is now in session.
We recently accompanied the Capiloutos to hear the verdict in California's third ever fentanyl murder jury trial.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant not guilty of violation of section,
which they believe demonstrates the need for Alexandra's Law.
I don't understand.
Prop 36 and Alexandra's Law went on to pass with overwhelming support, the most decisive win on California's ballot.
Less than 2% of all drug deaths result in the conviction of a drug dealer.
He notes Alexandra's Law will now help prosecutors secure convictions for repeat offenders, but he also believes the warnings they get under Alexandra's Law will serve as a deterrent, preventing the need for fentanyl murder trials in the first place.
Her daughter told her mom that she was going to do something to save lives.
I believe she has now.
Through stories like Alexandra's and Spencer's and Jules and Zach's, more people now know one pill can kill. And overdose rates among young people are starting to decline. But their parents stress the fentanyl fight is not over. California lawmakers would not increase penalties for fentanyl sales, but they did decriminalize fentanyl test strips, which were considered drug paraphernalia until 2022. Now, along with Narcan, fentanyl test strips are required on state and community college campuses as the messaging is shifting from just say no to no. KNOW. But as test strips are normalized from high school to college to bachelor parties, our testing found fentanyl test strips alone can do more harm than good. It's one of the many lessons learned from the increasing number of fentanyl death investigations that grieving parents desperately hope you'll share.
Taught himself how to play piano.
Placer County Sheriff's Detective Patrick Craven was the lead detective on Zach Didier's case.
Zach died 2 days after Christmas 2020.
And Spencer's, and Jules, and Cade's, and 18 fentanyl investigations later, he says it's not any easier.
You become so close to these victims.
But a lot has changed. For instance, before Zach, when someone died from fentanyl,
It was a coroner's report, and that was it. There was no criminal investigation.
Since then, his investigations alone led to 2 of the state's first 3 fentanyl-related murder convictions. And he's now leading a first-of-its-kind opioid investigation unit in Northern California.
We are not coming across real pills anymore. We are only coming across counterfeit pills.
Using evidence set for destruction and a variety of test strips purchased on Amazon, Detective Craven helped us demonstrate the concern.
So we don't know where the fentanyl was located within this pill.
With Narcan nearby and a dedicated safety officer off camera to administer it, we began crushing what were sold by a dealer as Percocet M30s.
So this is an MX908.
Using this law enforcement mass spectrometer, we confirmed they're actually fentanyl-laced counterfeits.
It detected fentanyl.
Now for the test strips, which are generally pretty accurate.
We're adding the prescribed amount of liquid.
The concern is user error. Unlike COVID tests with fentanyl strips, 1 line is positive and 2 is negative, and instructions vary from test to test.
Sometimes it was hard to follow directions, even for someone like myself.
Each test requires you crush and dilute the drugs with a specific amount of solution.
You're not going to test the entire thing because you're not going to be able to use it.
Some strips require you test the whole pill, others don't. And when we split this pill per the test instructions, running each half through that spectrometer,
the first half of the pill that we tested contained no fentanyl,
which could have been lethal if someone tested only that half of the pill. It's known as the chocolate chip cookie analogy. With prescriptions made in the lab, the medication is equally distributed. If you take half the pill, you get half the meds. But street drugs are more like homemade cookies. Some may have lots of chips, some may have a few. And if you only test a piece of the cookie, you could test a piece without the chips. or without the fentanyl in the case of a pill.
We loved making cookies.
In a real-life example,
no two pills are the same.
Zach and his best friend got pills from the same man. Zach overdosed. His friend did not.
If you test one pill, it does not guarantee that the next one isn't loaded with fentanyl.
Laura has learned a lot since Zach died. She shares his story through fentanyl education campaigns.
But I always end saying, you know, you're safer than Zach was. He didn't know all of the things you now know.
Among the life-saving lessons she wants you to share,
the market is flooded with counterfeits. Do not take any pill that didn't come from a pharmacy. You know, we didn't have that messaging back in 2020.
And don't trust dealers who claim they've tested their pills. The man who sold Zach his fatal pill on Snapchat was later convicted of manslaughter. Among the case evidence, this photo of a negative test strip from Snapchat, an apparent attempt to convince other buyers his drugs were safe after Zach died.
A pill in pill form has not been tested.
And if you test a pill yourself,
the entire pill needs to be crushed. Your dilution ratio has to be right.
And she stresses you still need Narcan nearby with someone sober to administer it.
It's really important for young people to understand
Narcan couldn't have saved Zach because he took his pill alone.
They will not be able to administer to themselves.
His college acceptance letters were followed by condolence letters to his parents.
Your son epitomized the kind of student we welcome most. The University of California mourns with you in your loss. You know, Zach would say, I don't exactly know what I want to do, but I know I want to help people.
And his story has.